We don't know what we're calling it yet. So it's either the burnt ricotta cheesecake, or it's the salty honey cheesecake, or the ricotta cloud cake. We'll see. Anyway, it's a combination of all those words. Burnt, salty, honey, ricotta, cheesecake, fluffy, pillow. You get the idea. This is basically the anti-Basque, anti-New York style cheesecake. So if that cheesecake is really thick and custardy and heavy, this one is like light and ethereal and fluffy. So things we need for this recipe: ricotta cheese, whole milk ricotta, not skim because we want the fat that's in there. It's already a pretty lean product. It's made out of milk, and it's nice to get fresh ricotta. Like, go out of your way to get nice handmade ricotta if you can, versus like the polio stuff, which can be kind of grainy. It's not essential, but I think it's worth it. And then heavy cream, honey, eggs, flour, sugar, vanilla extract, sesame seeds, for no reason other than I just like sesame seeds, butter, and then salt. So first step in the cake is prepare your pan. I'm using a 9-inch springform pan. This is what a springform pan is. The base releases from the sides, which means that once the cake is baked, you can easily release it versus having to like get in there with a knife or like invert it. So it's a great cake pan to have if you don't have one. You could make this in a regular cake pan, but it may not remove easily, so you may have to just cut wedges straight out of cake pan. It's not the end of the world. So we're gonna melt 1 tablespoon of butter. Okay, so I'm just greasing this pan with a very large paintbrush. So the sides and everything, because this is what the sesame seeds are gonna stick to. So make sure you get the whole thing. And then a 1/4 cup of sesame seeds, just sprinkle them in and kind of around the sides. And then you'll just do like a tapping motion. This is basically the same thing as like flouring a pan, but we're using sesame seeds instead of flour because then they like bake into the sides of the pan and kind of make this like sesame crust on it. So there's our cake pan. It's got the ses seeds. So into the food processor, we're going to put 3 cups of ricotta cheese. This ricotta is fairly dry, so I don't think I need to strain it at all to get any of the liquid moisture out. If your ricotta is like really wet and like loosey-goosey, strain it over some paper towels or some cheesecloth just so that it like holds together like cheese. I'm adding 1/3 of a cup of heavy cream. So in a traditional Basque cheesecake, you'd have like 2 cups of heavy cream and 2 pounds of cream cheese, which is a lot of really heavy, really rich dairy. And so this one is lighter and fluffier. So there's a little bit of heavy cream, but it's mostly made of ricotta and eggs. And so the flavor of the ricotta really comes through. 1/3 cup of honey. So this gets sweetened with both honey and sugar. And then at the end, we're going to drizzle it and douse it in more honey and in olive oil and salt. And that is because my favorite way to consume ricotta is just like a straight up bowl of it, drizzled in honey and olive oil with flaky salt. That's how I used to eat it when I lived in Italy because the ricotta is just so fucking good over there. 1 1/4 cups of sugar, salt, 1 teaspoon vanilla extract. Then we process until it's really smooth. A little scrapey scrape. All right, so you can see this is like, it's looking cheesecakey already. It's looking nice and thick and smooth. And then we're gonna do 5 egg yolks, but we're gonna separate the whites and save them because those are gonna get whipped later on and folded in. So as you're cracking them, throw the whites into another large bowl, or if you have a stand mixer, to the bowl of your stand mixer, because then you'll be ready to go, ready to whip. But if you don't have a stand mixer, it's fine. You can throw them in a large bowl. So then we're gonna pulse these in. And then lastly, oh, very nice. Look at my baby. That's my book. That's my new book, you guys. Please pre-order it now. Thank you very much. Okay, so lastly, 6 tablespoons of flour, and that's just to stabilize and bind this a little bit. And we put that in last because we don't want to overwork the flour, so we're just pulse until we see no more flour, which is right about now. Now we're gonna go over and beat the egg whites. So like I said, you can do this just with a metal bowl and electric beaters, or in a metal bowl with a whisk. It'll just take you a little bit longer, but we're going for stiff peaks. So I'm gonna be at medium speed, and it'll take like 2 minutes on this mixer because it's pretty high powered, longer if you're doing it by hand. So here is a stiff peak because it's holding up off of the whisk in a stiff peak. So the last step is transfer this cheesecake base into a large bowl. Oh my gosh, here's a really fun trick. Did you guys know that the best way to get the last bits out of the food processor when it's hard because your like spatula is getting stuck on the blade is to put it back on and give it one pulse, and then it all goes to the sides, and then you can just scrape it out. I mean, it's like game changing.
What?
Yeah. And now we're just adding, I'm gonna do about half of the egg whites first, and then we're folding. And so we're just like really gently incorporating it. And once most of it has been incorporated, we can add the rest. And then you just keep folding. And then we're gonna do this until we don't see any white streaks remaining. I was just looking at this and I was thinking, this needs more salt. I could just tell. I have salt bar. Here's another little pinch. Whatever the recipe says, do that. And then we just go straight in to our prepared pan. Okay, and then I'm just smoothing the top here so that it bakes in an even manner. Whoop. And then straight onto a sheet tray. Then I'm going into a 400-degree oven for 55 minutes. Preheat the oven. Don't forget to preheat the oven. And then set a timer and we'll come back, and you don't want to open it too soon because you wouldn't want it to deflate, and there's egg whites in there that are doing all of their stuff. Hey Siri. Hey Siri. Okay. Okay, so the cake's out of the oven. It's been cooling for like 3 hours. This is the shortest amount of time I would wait. If ideally, like wait a little bit longer because you don't want it to be like too jiggly. Before you release it from the pan, run a spatula around the outside so it doesn't get stuck. And then release. This cake is pretty delicate, so it's kind of hard to transfer it off of the bottom tray that it comes on. I just don't think it's worth the headache of it, so I just then transfer it to a serving platter, and then you'll just slice right off of that. That's a jiggle jiggle. It's fine. Let's try another slice. We're not gonna pretend like that didn't happen. There we go. There's our slice. Okay, and then lastly, just to finish it, it's just getting drizzled with warm honey, and then also drizzled with olive oil, because as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, my favorite way to eat ricotta is drizzled in honey and olive oil and finished with flaky salt, and so that's how we're finishing the cheesecake.
Well, that's really good.
So light and fluffy, is it not? It's like a cloud. Say two. Say fini. Oh my God, is that a duty? Oh my God, what? Tuna just dropped a duty on the floor.